This episode of the Eskimo Empire podcast is brought to you by Straight from the CPA's Mouth, a new podcast series created by the CPA Education Foundation and funded by the Heshe CPA Knowledge Center. Alberta's Chartered Professional Accountants, or CPAs, are experts on a wide range of topics and issues of interest to Albertans. Straight from the CPA's Mouth has discussions on topics important to you, from leadership skills and achieving career potential to financial literacy and how to make your tax refund bigger. Whether you're a university student, a new Albertan, or a parent, you'll find something of value in this unique podcast. You'll find Straight from the CPA's Mouth on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or Google Podcasts, or on the CPA Education Foundation's website at cpaalberta.ca/foundation. That's cpaalberta.ca/foundation. Enjoy the show.
Hey, fellas, we ain't gonna ever back down from nobody. I don't care who it is. This is a brotherhood. And if we stand strong together, we can't be denied. If one of us goes down, we have another, and another, and another that's ready to fight. So let's hit this field and bang them, bang them, bang them. Somebody, light me up.
Welcome to the Empire. It's the Eskimo Empire podcast.
This is Trevor Harris.
Hey, how you doing? This is number 58, Travis Bond.
This is Christoph Malomba Chimanga.
Hey there, this is your co-host, Kenny Stafford.
Hey, this is Ryan King.
And Calvin McCarty.
And you are listening to...
You're listening to the Eskimos Empire.
You're listening to the Eskimo Empire podcast.
The Eskimo Empire podcast. Hope you guys enjoy listening.
Welcome back to the Turf District for the Eskimo Empire podcast, and we are a proud member of the Alberta Podcast Network, powered by ATB. I'm Andrew, and joined virtually once again by Superfan Mike.
Virtually hello.
And Commissioner Kayla.
Emoji wave.
Virtually hello and emoji wave. That sounds
Isn't
like...
that, yeah.
Yeah,
it's a new band.
That's my Katrina and the Waves cover band. Did you like that?
You'll be playing the same places.
Yeah, pretty much. Well, I really want to be the same. I'm really looking forward to being the same. How are you guys doing?
It's hard to wear. I'm not going to lie to you. This whole sitting around inside thing. But, it's been a tough week because this would have been the week we were at training camp, right?
Yes.
Sunday, yesterday for us would have been the first game against Winnipeg in Manitoba. So, yeah, it's a little tough. But, I've been watching some games on DVD, and that's helping a little bit. And, just prepping for the show. That kind of keeps us going.
Yeah, absolutely. I might have to come raid your DVD collection. So
Yeah.
I need to have some stuff to watch. I did watch the 2003 Grey Cup again.
Smart move, considering.
Yes.
Yeah.
And but I agree with you. It really hit home this week not being able to go to Commonwealth.
Well, I mean, I guess you could go to it.
Which I did, and I'll tell you about that in a minute. But
excellent.
Sad and cry. Yeah, sounds great.
I won't lie, I did shed a tear.
Yep.
Yeah. How are you holding up through this, Commissioner?
I'm okay. Like, I spend a lot of time in the garden, keeping busy, and I'm working remotely from home. But it is getting a little boring, a little wearing, like Mike said. I stay home a lot anyway, but the fact that I don't have the option kind of is like, well, you can't tell me what to do, but they really can.
Yes,
they are.
Yeah. And I'm kind of disappointed that there's like only encore games, like 2 a week, and they're both on Fridays, I believe.
And there's only one Eskimo game when we lose.
Yes.
And I was going to say, the first one with the Eskimos is this Friday. They couldn't have played the 2015.
Spoiler
alert. Well played, Superfan. Yeah. There was not a lot, honestly, for Eskimo fans in the number of weeks that they played the encore games.
No.
Yeah.
So that was a little disappointing. And the fact that they just do Sports Center reruns, I'm like, really? You can't just flip on the old CFL games once in a while? Like, good golly.
Yeah, no.
Language.
Yeah. Thanks, Captain America. Yeah, you know what though? I agree with you. I think that we're at that point where, again, this week means more because it means that we didn't have training camp, and we aren't talking about who were the guys that played well yesterday.
Right. Who's the Jimmy Gaines winner?
That's right. Yeah, exactly.
Oh, yeah.
Like, we don't have that ability right now. So, yeah, it's very, very tough. I will say though, Mike, I played my first game in our cold snap, D&D football
simulation
game,
league. Yes.
the simulation league. And, let me tell you how exciting that was.
It was
like, it was very, and that was a crazy game. And there were times where Doug and I were both just like, I can't believe that happened. There was one play and we knocked pinball out of the game, and we had all this. Then there was
on special teams, no less.
Yes, and there was both of us had TDs taken off the board by penalties. So obviously this was a Bradbury ref game. Yeah,
or Jake.
Yeah, something like that. But I can tell you that's making it a little bit better.
It's been a lot of fun. I've been really enjoying this. People that haven't been, haven't fallen asleep yet. So
already in 5 minutes into the podcast,
called Play.com, PLAAY.com, who do sports simulation games, dice and paper games. And they're one of the few out there that do a CFL game. So we heard about this through Joe from the Rouge, White, and Blue podcast. Joe Pritchard, a good friend of ours, super guy. And he said, no, you really should give it a try. So he sent me this video. We watched it. I'm like, this is really cool. It actually looked exciting, like he was calling a real game. And I played other simulation games, sports action, Canadian Pro Football, and other simulation games. But this one, I think, just sort of feels more like a game where you're in charge of the defense instead of just offense and away you go. So we've decided to pick a sort of your dream team. So I've taken the 1981 Eskimos.
Which
but that
would have been
means
mine,
there's a lot.
But no.
Yeah, but there's a lot of other teams, right?
Yes.
So you've got the 2003 Eskimos.
Sure do.
We've got Doug's got the 91 Argonauts. Smitty has got the 1995 Baltimore Stallions, who I beat this week.
Well, good plug. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. We've got the 2019 Winnipeg. That's what Joe's got for a team. So, it's been pretty fun. And of course, Rod from the Wood Cookie Sawcast took the Sacramento Gold Miners.
Yes.
So that's pretty exciting.
Wednesday night, the first half of that game will be played, where Archer will go up against Ricky Ray.
Oh, finally.
So this should be interesting.
There's a story in there somewhere.
There is, and I'm hoping it's a good one. Yeah, that's right. So, anyway, that's kind of you find time. You're finding time to do other things. I think that's what we're all learning. Kayla, it's funny because you were saying I'm spending a lot of time in, and you paused and then said the garden, and I was going to say the sauce, but you were saying so what kind of other things are you doing other than gardening, or do you go for drives?
I find that I'm working so much more than I'm working at home, and it's really becoming an unhealthy habit.
Oh, I bet.
Yeah, so that's one thing that I kind of have to put a stop to, because I think it was last week, Mike, remember when I was like, yeah, I just got off work technically.
Right.
Because I was working just till 8 to the podcast, and like sometimes you just lose track of time and you're like, oh my gosh, it's 6:30. Like, I need to stop.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that's unhealthy. So I like to do a lot of gardening, planting, doing vegetables, herbs. We did a lot of transplanting this weekend again. So yeah, my mom and I have made the house look really nice, and there's not much left to do. So now I'm like, I gotta find another hobby. So I'll probably go back to crochet.
You could consider growing juniper.
Ooh. That would be interesting. You could do that, and then I bet Mike has a suggestion of what you could do with said juniper.
Yes.
Does it have 3 letters?
It does have 3 letters. And it's not just FUN. Although it is.
But it always, I was just going to say, but it turns that way. Yes.
Yes.
In my stomach, it sure does.
Yes.
I like this suggestion. This is outstanding. I know we've been trying to find other things to do just to kind of get a little bit of break. I was on vacation last week, and so I was kind of searching around for things that you could do that had, social distancing and all this type of thing. So we ended up taking a trip down to Innisfail. They have basically a drive-through zoo right now. So usually you can walk around the wildlife park is what it's called. But right now you stay in your car and you drive around the entire zoo, and you still get to see the animals and the staff. You roll down your windows, they stand back, but they tell you stories about everything. And that was kind of a nice break because it kind of actually felt like we were out of it.
Yeah.
And I mean, we stopped for drive-through in Red Deer, and then other than that, it just gave you that little bit of a break. So we're trying to find all these different things. I know, Mike, you've got landscaping going on now, which is exciting.
Yeah, and we just Thomas just got a bike.
Yes,
which is very exciting. It's his first 2-wheeler, and 15 minutes after he had it, he's now standing up while he's pedaling and.
Awesome.
Yeah,
Superstar.
My heart's in my throat. Yeah, I know. my heart's in my throat. He's like, I don't need pants. Yes, you do.
Yes, a big bubble pad. That's what you need.
Exactly.
Yes.
It's just like that giant clear ball that you sit in and you bounce off. One of those.
Easy. Yeah, that's perfect. Yeah. We decided that being that we weren't really going anywhere this year, we are building a new deck right now. So we'll have a new deck to spend many hours testing out Kayla's new gin. It's going to be great.
Perfect.
Yeah, I'm pretty excited about it.
I mean, if you get any, it might disappear before I get there.
Fair.
I promise I'll save you some.
Excellent. I appreciate that.
1/2 ounce each.
Yes. You see this little cup? That's what you get.
Not a video podcast as of yet, but that was
Use your imagination.
That's right. It's perfect. All right, let's get to our special guest this week. Very excited to have this guy on. We've talked about him many, many times. Everyone knows his nickname. Let's get to our chat with MilkTruck Mark Mackie. How you doing, man?
Doing great. Great to be on.
That's awesome. I'm glad we finally got a chance to have you on, because it's always a practice. It's like, how many people am I going to try and catch? And so I'm glad we finally got a chance to chat with you.
It just took the retirement. I know that you guys were waiting for the perfect opportunity, so glad to have finally made the cut.
So now you'll just sign with the team again next week and then retire the week after so we can have you back on?
That's it. It's all a game. How many times can we get on?
we just needed a good doctor.
Well, let's start with the question that everybody's asking right now. How are you doing? How are you doing in the midst of all of the pandemic and things that are going on?
Pretty good. Just like right now, I'm back home with the family, so we're all kind of living in tight quarters together, and nobody's killed each other just yet, but there's been a couple spats here and there. Just kind of digesting all the big news that happened for me a couple weeks ago, and just kind of figuring out, what are the next steps? How do I transition from one thing to the other? It's definitely a weird feeling for me right now. I mean, we should be in training camp, right? It should have already been day, I don't even know what day it should have been, but I should have been sore, and it should have been, at this point, I should have been like, do I like football anymore? So that's kind of been weird for it to be summer and to not be in training camp right now. So it's going to be, super interesting going forward how that all plays out. So just in the meantime, enjoying the rest of my summer and looking forward to the new adventure.
Awesome. That's outstanding. So what are you doing to fill time right now that you're not doing football and you can't really do much of anything else? What are you doing?
Lots of Xbox. There's some Xbox in there. Our my good buddies, we all have a Madden connected league right now. So the Jacksonville Jaguars just translocated to London. We're now the London Black Knights. We're doing well. Derrick Henry does not. They can't figure that out. So I've been doing that, but then it's been nice. The parks have finally kind of opened back up, and so I've been able to get some golfing in, some outside time. Been working out a lot, and it's been good. So just kind of relaxing for the most part.
Awesome. Are any of your teammates in there? A lot of your teammates that we talk to also play Xbox.
Oh yeah, all the time. I think Jordan Hoover might be the biggest gamer I've met in my life. I thought I was a big time gamer, but I think every time I sign into the Xbox, he's playing something. So everybody's a big gamer for sure.
Oh, that's awesome. Now we're obviously going to get into talking about the career change, because that's a big change for you for sure. But I want to talk a little bit about the football side first. Usually when we have players on, we kind of go back and say when or who introduced you to football, and when did you actually start playing the game?
For sure. I was a little bit of a late bloomer. So I started in grade 9, and it was pretty much just I'd always kind of watched football with my dad. It was something I knew I wanted to play at some point. But when I was younger, I pretty much just played baseball and hockey. Those were my two big sports. And then when I got into high school, the football coach just kind of came by and was like, "You, are you showing up to training camp? Like, let's get it going." So finally got on the field, and it just had so much fun. And I was a bigger kid at the time. My growth spurt happened earlier. There was a time I was big. I know I'm small now. There was a time. So yeah, I'm pretty much the same size as I was in grade 9. But anyways,
wow, that is a big grade 9.
Kind of the start of it, and then I played a little bit. I played a ton of sports in high school, and it always came back to I just enjoyed football the most, and it's what I was best at. So then I went on to play at McMaster, and then the rest is kind of history.
Well, and you were talking about how, on the YouTube Live, one of the things that you'll miss the most is just having that outlet to just hit somebody. And if that's how you feel, then football is obviously the sport for you.
I mean, what other sport can you put on some gear and run full speed into people, right? I mean, it's organized assault out there. Which is fun when you win. And when I got to the CFL, I did a bit of winning and a lot of not winning, but I'm going to miss the contact. The contact was definitely the most fun about the sport.
Oh, that's awesome. Now, when you started, did you always play on the D-line, or did you play other positions as well?
Yeah, so I started out on the O-line and then did some D-line. My high school didn't have too many players, so they were always looking for guys to kind of play both ways. And then my body weight went on a complete roller coaster. So by grade 11, I was doing some wrestling. I was down to 211 pounds, and there I was playing fullback, some defensive end, and then I broke my ankle playing hockey. Now, this story breaks my heart because my sister was away for university at the time. So when she left, I was 211 pounds. When she got back about 2 or 3 months later, I had a broken ankle. I'd just been eating the exact same way, but no working out. I was, no word of a lie, the grossest 285 I've ever been. And I remember my sister walked down the stairs and just saw me and just burst out kind of laughing at me. Whoa! So that was my move back to the O-line. And then, from there, my body weight just went all over the place. I finally got down to about 250. And then defensive end, I realized just height-wise was going to be the best kind of option for me. And that's what I stuck with going to the McMaster.
Awesome.
That's great. So the draft obviously just happened. Why don't you tell us a bit about your draft day in 2017? Like, you were a late rounder, but you still were off the board. Like, how did that feel?
Draft day sucked. I mean, I'll be honest, draft day sucked. Looking back at it, I'm so happy I went to Edmonton in hindsight. But, I mean, the process of, there's so many what ifs and unknowns, and I started out at the regional combine. I did really well. I went to the national combine. I was beating guys that they're like, oh, this guy's going to go in the first round. So I was like feeling pretty good about myself, and, teams call you. And so people would ask me, what round do you think you're going in? I'm like, I don't know. But like in my head, I was like, I hope maybe, round 5, 6. I know I'm a little undersized, but maybe someone we'll see what happens. And then I just had some family over, and a couple close friends knew it was going going on, so they came over, and it got awkward. It got about the 6th round. We were all just sitting around going like, is this going to happen? And then round 7, what's the 5 stages of grief? I can't even remember. I went through all of them, and but yeah, round 8, you're like, okay, I mean, something it's not going to happen, and I don't remember exactly what pick I was, but I just remember Edmonton, Alberta kind of popped up, and I just remember I was a little bit angry, a lot excited, and I really hope they don't remember what I said to them on the phone, because I think I was saying some silly stuff. It was Coach Moss and Brock were on the phone, and I just remember they kind of said, we know you're a late round pick. We had you valued way higher. We think you're going to come in. We're going to give you a chance. And I was like, that's perfect. That's all I need. And looking back on it, it's frustrating, but ultimately really fun kind of experience to think about.
That's cool. So for the guys that were drafted in the 2020 draft, do you have any advice you might have for people trying to join the team?
Just come ready to work. Know that it's going to be a bit of an adjustment no matter what position, no matter where you come from. If you come from somewhere in Canada, if you've been playing D1, it's a jump for kind of everybody. The speed's going to be fast. So just, be a sponge when you get there and show up ready to work every day. And you'll find a home, you'll find a role, and you'll fit right in. It's a fun time. I feel horrible for those guys who got drafted and now everything's kind of getting pushed and we don't know what's going to happen. So I would just say to them, keep working, because when something does happen, you better be ready for it.
That's pretty good advice.
Oh, sorry, Andrew.
It's okay.
I assume you would also have to prep for the locker room if you're a new guy as well. What is your most legendary story of the locker room?
Legendary story of the locker room? You're putting me on the spot.
What we do.
My most legendary moment was a real letdown, actually. It was there's a ping pong table right in the middle of the room, and Hoover was my roommate. I spent every day practicing on that table, and we had gotten to the point where I'm not saying I was top 5. I think I was top 5 in the room at one point, and people started to notice, and Coach Moss loved competition, so we would always kind of get competitions in between meetings and stuff. So I remember There we were doing this ping pong tournament, and I had made it into the last round of the ping pong tournament. I was about to claim my big throne. I was up. I couldn't have been up any higher, and then somebody had a miracle moment, and they came back and defeated me, and I got flack. I think guys still make fun of me for the giant collapse. I remember I was mad the rest of the week. I don't even remember who we were playing that week, but I do remember losing the ping pong. So I think legendary moments happen on the ping pong table. Mine was unfortunately a gaffe, but the ping pong, and then there's so many little ones. I mean, a funny one would be just walking into nearly naked grown men all together, just rapping the lyrics of, some hilarious rap song. And you're there, it's like a Tuesday morning, you're rubbing your eyes. You're like, am I seeing this right now? Is there seriously a dance party going on at, 6:30 in the morning? And so many little things like that. There are a ton of legendary moments in there.
Well, jumping to the other side, for a fan, I know some of my most memorable moments were at fan day. So do you remember your first fan day?
I do remember my first fan day. It was really cool. I remember being like, there's so many people here. Because, I mean, take in like when I've been out in East Canada, so it's like when you go to those Argo games, they don't kind of get the same level of support. So that was kind of my first big kind of aha moment with like, okay, Edmonton takes their football, seriously, and there's a ton of support for the team. So I remember that was a ton of fun, just having a bunch of people out, and that was kind of the first moment where I was like, oh, wait a second, this is pro football. This isn't, McMaster, where there was more people at the fan day than a regular season game at McMaster. I was like, this is crazy. I had a tough moment at that one, though. I had a tough moment because they hand us markers and they go, okay, you're going around, you're signing. If somebody wants something signed, you sign it. And I remember you get into kind of a zone where you're just like signature. And I signed somebody's jersey that I wasn't supposed to sign. And if you're out here watching that right now, I'm so sorry. I hope you could get it off. Because there I was, this 8th round random guy, and I realized I signed it. Just the look on his face, he was like, that wasn't to be signed. Just scurrying away as fast as I could. I think I jumped into a different place. Some embarrassing parts, but it was cool.
You know what? I remember your first fan day because that was when we found out the nickname MilkTruck, and because you and Odell were going basically in the line together, and Odell called you MilkTruck, and you kind of went like, "Oh God!" and we're like, "What is that?" And Odell's like, "Well, he's the only white guy on the line, so we gotta." Oh my! I laughed so from then on, we always called you MilkTruck. So that was a fantastic moment of that day.
Oh, it was too fun.
I have some photos from that day too. I think I do. Yeah.
No, it was fun, and the nickname's too funny. I mean, I remember me and Quaker were the only Canadians. I was the only white guy, so but it was funny, right? Because when I was this random guy who just random, inconspicuous, and then when they started kind of letting me out and into some real plays, and I started actually making plays, Odell would just kind of yell like, "Okay, Milk." And then it just that's how it kind of spiraled. I don't know where the truck part entered. I don't know how we got from there A to B there, but so it ended up being, a really positive thing for me where it was like, okay, now that's, I'm fitting in a little bit, and it was really nice. So I liked the nickname.
Oh, it was awesome. And I really, really look forward to when you finish medical school and we can make you the business cards that say Dr. MilkTruck, because that would be outstanding.
I'm waiting for them. I'll send you a proof that I graduated, and then I'm expecting some cards in the mail.
Done. It will happen. Now, one of the biggest parts of the game for you was special teams, and you talk about just running down and hitting guys. Give us an idea what it's like either kind of just running down to tackle somebody or actually trying to keep your guy upright. Because I know that Jed Roberts has told us that that's just like a war zone. But what is it like to be in that position, and what did you like the most about it?
It's just pure unadulterated adrenaline for me. I mean, it's when you're lining up for a kickoff, anything like that, your heart is pumping. I remember the first time I ran down on kickoffs, you're like, wow, this is just an intense moment. And then eventually the game slows down a little bit and you're able to pick up on things, so it's a little less intense, but the adrenaline never stops. And the adrenaline never stops because you're watching film, and you'll watch film of the week before. And let me tell you something. Every team has a couple of plays up their sleeve where some guy gets about a 50-yard blindside run at you, and just doesn't matter who you are, doesn't matter how big you are, doesn't matter what school you came from, you get the blindside hit, you're going for a ride. So I think for me, the scariest part about the special teams was the what ifs. It's like, is this a smoke screen? Is somebody running at me full speed? So, I mean, for me, the adrenaline part of special teams is a crazy part of it. And, I just think that it was way too much fun. And for me, the best part was, I think I was a pretty unique special teamer, because I don't think anybody was as heavy as I was out there. So for me, I knew if I could just run to where I needed to be and run fast, a lot of the times, the contact was going to work out for me. So, I mean, for me, it was just a ton of fun. And, sometimes you could get all types of different body types out there to match up on. So, I mean, if I ran into a DB, that was just the most fun. The scariest moment of my entire life was when I was on punt team and I lined up against Micah Johnson. And let me tell you something. The video does not give any justice to how big he is. So I just remember lining up against him being like, I am not big enough to be across from you right now. You run at me full speed, I'm cutting you. And so it's a war zone out there, to say the least. But it's also a ton of fun once you kind of start learning the ropes and get the hang of it.
Oh man, you never think of it that way, where you think, okay, I know this guy is big, but now I'm lining up across from him, and Lord only knows what he's going to do. Like that part would make me nervous too. Now Now, when you joined the team, you same time as Kwaku. So 2 Canadian kids coming in on the D line, which is not super common to have 2 D-end type guys coming in. Do you have any kind of good stories of kind of coming in with Kwaku and kind of being the Canadians?
Yeah, so I mean they're a little strategic about the room setup, so we ended up rooming together for that first training camp. And I remember we had our rituals, and one of the rituals was to always play FIFA. And I would be remiss to not let the world know that Kwaku did win a little more than he lost. Okay. And I don't know if you guys have had the chance to talk to Kwaku or to lose to Kwaku in anything, but he's not exactly the most gracious winner. So I remember if I'd have a long day at training camp, which that first training camp, that a lot of the days were pretty long, and then I'd be like, oh no, I'd be dreading the FIFA matches a little more than I was the actual training camp. So I was like, if I let this guy win, I'm not gonna hear the end of it. But it was a ton of fun coming in with Kwaku, and then to just kind of get to see, where he started from, and yeah, there was no Canadians at all at the time. I remember being confused after I talked to them. I was like, great, I have an opportunity on draft day. I remember being confused, like looking up their roster online, just being like, where do we fit in? Like there's no spot for us here. So to see Kwaku kind of go in, and Kwaku had the same deal, right? He was supposed to be like a first round guy. He went drafted fifth round or something like that. So for him to go in, kind of carved that spot out and where he is right now, very proud of him. Still hate him for what he did to me in FIFA during training camps, but I guess I can look past it.
That was like the greatest year for nicknames for us, because we had Kwaku and MilkTruck all in a matter of like 2 weeks. It was fantastic.
Elite nicknames.
Like that's there. I don't think we've had any other ones that are quite that level yet. So we really gotta
gotta
work on some new ones. Yeah, absolutely.
So let's kind of wrap up the football side of things with what would be your favorite memory from your time playing with the Eskimos?
Favorite memory, it has to be I was let go that second training camp. Again, no Canadians on the D tackles, so it was kind of a tough no fit situation for me. So I remember I went home and I was training, and 3 really, really, really long weeks went by for me, and then I got that phone call from Brock, and it was are you healthy? Yep. Are you in shape? Yep. And just getting to go out to Edmonton, being told I was gonna play, and then to have the chance to not only play for Edmonton, but to have that first game kind of in Toronto, around where I grew up, and to have all my family members out to it was really special. And then I managed to get in and make a play that game. I got my sack, and that was just a really kind of all-time high moment, especially going from that really low part of getting cut to kind of being on the team, making a play in front of my friends and family. That was the sweetest moment for me. And there's been a lot of sweet moments, but I'm definitely going to cherish that one for a really long time.
That's awesome. And so moving forward, what motivated you to go to med school?
Yeah, I mean, it was a long-term goal of mine. Even before I knew that the CFL could even be a possibility for me, I had when I was in high school, I was playing a ton of sports, and I spent a lot of time, being injured and being at the Fowler Kennedy Clinic at Western, and I got kind of. Yeah, I mean, not exactly where you want to spend a lot of time, but I got to meet, some of the physiotherapists, the sport med doctors, and I was like, these people do this for a living? That's really awesome. So I did a degree in kinesiology, and that just kind of reaffirmed, wanting to kind of pursue the medicine side of things, and maybe even one day the sport medicine side of things. And so that was kind of a long-term goal for me. And then in university, when I found the CFL might be an opportunity, I kind of started, working towards both goals simultaneously. So it's been something that's in the works for a while now.
That's awesome. Oh, it's never too late to go to school, in my opinion.
I'll be there forever. So
hey, I was there forever. It's all good.
So are you looking to go into like a specialty, or do you think you're going to do just like family med, or where do you think? Sorry, I'm a respiratory therapist, so that's where I'm coming from. But
sure.
Where did you want to go to?
I think it's a little early. I think most people, they give the advice of going in with an open mind, and I definitely agree with that, because I think, you can have big ideas of what you want to do, but until you actually kind of get that hands-on experience and actually kind of get to talk to people who are doing it, I think it's going to be important to find something that not only I'm interested in, but I'm good at and kind of my personality fits for. So I'm going to go in with a really open mind. I think having the kinesiology background and having the background with the CFL, doing something related to sport is definitely a big interest of mine. So if that's the way it goes, then that would be kind of a cool full circle thing. But trying to stay as neutral and keep as open as a mind as possible, though.
That's smarter than you think.
That's right. I would say just from this conversation that your bedside manner should be wonderful. So it shouldn't matter where you end up.
I'll try to at least make people laugh if I can't fix them.
Yeah, exactly. Let me tell you about this. Let me tell you about this jerk in FIFA named Kwaku. Yeah, no, that'll be I know he listens, so he's gonna love that. That'll get me in trouble. Okay, let's do some quick questions here. Right. I know you're obviously a lineman, so you probably like to eat. Do you have a favorite food?
Favorite food, pizza. That's an easy one. Hawaiian pineapple does belong on pizza.
Yes, it does.
If I am having a cheat meal at any time, you better believe it's going to be, I don't know exactly from what place. Don't put me on the spot like that, but it's going to be a Hawaiian. Okay. And it's going to be way too much. I'm going to regret it afterwards, big time.
If you don't regret pizza afterwards, you didn't eat enough.
Did you get enough? Right.
That's how that's supposed to work. I know you already said when you're not playing football, you're probably playing Xbox. Is there other things that you like to do outside of not playing football?
Still sports. So, I mean, golf, spike ball with friends. My perfect weekend is going up to a cottage with friends and playing a million different cottage games and going boating. So that's kind of what I always like to, I'm a competitor. I love, if it's not, there isn't a winner and a loser, I'm not interested.
Awesome. Oh, that's awesome. Do you have a favorite movie?
Oh, easily. Lord of the Rings, Two Towers. If I could pick all three movies, I would. But the Two Towers, I mean, Helm's Deep. Come on, that's a layup.
Great battle.
Excellent. Yep, you're with friends here. All right. One place you'd love to travel to.
Ooh,
of course, when we're allowed to
I wanted to do a Euro trip if I got into school, so that's been delayed. I think visiting somewhere in the Mediterranean, maybe Italy, Greece, something like that, just kind of getting to eat all the food, see all the historical places, take in the culture. That's where I definitely need to check out once the world returns to a little more normal.
Awesome
choices.
Yes, for sure. Other than Commonwealth, which stadium did you like to play in the most?
Not BC Place. BC Place smells like popcorn a little bit. Have you ever been in there?
It does.
Oh, yeah.
It does.
Okay, yeah, it's got a weird popcorn as well. I think for me, it has to be in Saskatchewan. I mean, they have that new stadium and everybody's crazy, so it's definitely you get that big atmosphere. I mean, other than playing in Saskatchewan, the only games that have had as much intensity have been the Labor Day games, obviously, with the back-to-backs in Edmonton. But the atmosphere is super cool out in Saskatchewan, especially when Edmonton's in town.
Awesome. Hardest offensive lineman that you had to go up against from another team?
Oh, okay. Well, I'm going to pick our team first. Matt O'Donnell. That's an easy one. And have you ever watched like a UFC fight and they talk about, wow, this one fighter's reach is twice the size of another fighter. So my big problem was Matty would just encompass my entire body being 6'11". So that was tough. I think for me, Van Zyl from I guess Hamilton now, he was funny because when he would block me, he knew he was from McMaster as well. So he would grab me by, the plates and just kind of start chirping me about McMaster. So he would always kind of get into my head a little bit. So I guess I'd pick him.
That's a good reason to pick him, that's for sure. Now, this is a tough one, but we kind of throw it at everybody. If you had 1 hour to spend with anyone, alive or dead, who would it be and why?
Elon Musk, I need to figure out what's going on with why is he naming his kids what he's naming. And he's a little weird from what I've seen on interviews, but to pick his mind about where technology is going and stuff, I think, playing the stock market after that conversation, I might be a little well off by the end of it.
Nice.
I just read on Twitter that he changed his kid's name.
I saw that too.
Very disappointing.
I can't pronounce either.
Yeah.
It's Kyle. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, it's Kyle. Yeah, exactly. It's if you put all the letters together and spin one or two, it says MilkTruck. That's what it's. I don't know if you knew that, but
a convoluted way to get there, but I like it.
Yeah, I like that. All right, and being that you spent this time with the Eskimos, tell us, what does the Eskimo way mean to you?
It's just being the ultimate kind of teammate, and not only, with people in the locker room, but outside of the locker room. And I know the big saying is once an Eskimo, always an Eskimo. And you really get that feeling that you're a part of something, bigger than yourself when you're out here in Edmonton. So, I mean, from the moment I walked in, met Dwayne and saw all the memorabilia on the wall there, I knew I was a part of something really special. So I think it's just a really kind of special culture that's been built in Edmonton. I was really honored to get it, to be a part of it for a little bit.
Oh, that is awesome. Well, we can't thank you enough for joining us and telling us a bit about your football journey and kind of what's to come for you. Where do people kind of find you on social and things so they can follow along as you go through medical school?
For sure. So all my stuff's going to be on Instagram, Mackie_91. Toss me a follow and keep in touch.
Absolutely, and make sure that you, give us that proof of graduation, and the Dr. MilkTruck cards will be on their way.
4 years from now, I'm sliding into those DMs. There's nothing you can do to stop me.
I cannot wait. Thank you again, and that was such an awesome conversation. But we'll take a really quick break here, and then we will be back with the final all-time depth chart editions, and of course, the Eskimos history moment.
Hey, this is Earthquaku, and you're listening to the Eskimo Empire Podcast.
You can join the Empire online.
Find us at eskempire.ca.
Check out all the new blogs, and then follow us on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram.
For more history, follow @Esks History on Twitter.
And even more of my pics on Esk Empire Photo.
Don't forget to rate, review, and subscribe to help the pod grow. Thanks again for listening. Let's get back to the show. This episode is also brought to you by Inventures Unbound, the ultimate platform for innovators, investors, and industry to share, inspire, and interconnect virtually. Even in these times of distancing, connection and innovation are more important than ever. Inventures Unbound is brought to you by Alberta Innovates to ensure that innovators have opportunities to connect with ideas, investors, and industries from within our borders and reaching far beyond. Join the launch of a virtual community with live stream events June 3rd and 4th. The opening keynote is renowned neuroscientist Tali Sherritt, who will speak on how innovators and investors can harness optimism and vastly improve their decision-making skills. Other topics due for a deep dive will include smarter cities, vibrant communities, healthier living, broader thinking, agriculture in the technology age, and innovation of work. And you won't want to miss the all-out live stream pitch battle event. If you have a pass to Inventures 2020, you already have access to all of Unbound's goodies. If you'd like access to just Unbound, there's a pass for that at inventurescanada.com. That's INVENTURES Canada.com. All right, let's get to our news after that fantastic conversation with MilkTruck. And I, again, highly recommend you follow him. He's an amazing dude. So last week, of course, we already talked about it. No training camp, no preseason game, but we did have a Randy Ambrosie virtual town hall. Now, were you both able to watch that?
No, I didn't even know that he had one.
Oh, okay. It was a season ticket holder event. I wonder if that, it sent out in an email, and then we had to.
I didn't renew my season seats this year. That's why.
Oh, there we go.
Because I'm not supposed to be here, remember?
That's right. Yeah, that is very true.
It was interesting to watch for sure. I thought Brody did a great job sort of keeping everything on point.
Yes.
There was some stuff revealed in there that was, it's disappointing when you sort of see it in black and white that, yes, nothing's going to happen until September.
Yes.
Some concepts, especially he's been talking again later on this week about the possibility of hub cities is an interesting concept. I know the NHL is investigating that, as is the NFL, Major League Baseball, etc. So it's going to be interesting. I'm not sure how it's going to work, or even if it can work, given we're such a gate-driven league and you can't have throngs of people in the stadiums watching. But, say what you will about Randy Ambrosie. He gets out there, and if anything doesn't happen, it's not for the lack of trying.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. This is from way back at the beginning of the show. I said that I did go to Commonwealth, and I went there for this. I went and parked in my tailgate spot and watched the town hall. And
nice.
And then after I got to watch that and kind of process a bit, I got out and walked around the stadium. Was able to kind of look through the gates and see the field and kind of where our seats are. And it looked like they were doing some work. Probably it looked like putting in better, like a Wi-Fi bumper signal spots. So
boosters.
Yeah. So, I mean, great whenever we get there. But I just kind of stood there and thought about everything that Randy had just said and kind of wanting to be there to watch what's going on. And I thought, you know what? At this particular moment, this is better than nothing, but it was still a sad moment.
Sure is.
Can you elaborate on the hub cities?
Yeah. So the concept is going to be that there'll be a couple of cities where it's the hub because it's the least amount of travel for some of these teams.
Right.
As I understand it, and I could be completely wrong, and someone I'm sure will hopefully correct me, named Joe.
Safe bet.
Let's be honest.
Safe bet.
We all thought it. So you'd have a couple of cities that are designated the hub city, and they will be, or a bubble city, I've heard it called. So you'll have teams sort of playing out of there, so there's a lot less travel for them. Mm-hmm. I've heard a lot about Regina and Winnipeg as being the two possible hub cities because their infection rate is so low.
Mm. Okay.
So you'll just have teams kind of all playing there. I mean, as far as I know, there'll still be no people in the stands. So I guess there won't be as much of a home field advantage.
Right.
But I'm not entirely sure how that would work. I'd also heard about Edmonton. Edmonton's contagion level is much lower than, say, Calgary. Mm-hmm. BC has been another possibility because of the domed stadium. So, but I don't know how they're going to do out east, if they're going to have anything out east, because it's been tough out there.
Yeah, well, and I know that they had talked about the possibility of like Saskatchewan being the west hub and Winnipeg being the east hub.
Correct.
And so I'd heard things like that. I did see on Twitter, and I'm curious to see what you guys think of this. I think it was over in Europe. There was a spot that they were, they basically you would buy a cardboard head, and they would basically put your cardboard head in the stands, and that way, then when they look out, there's all these faces of people who are watching, but obviously you don't get crowd noise. But it's another way to kind of get some quote unquote gate for the team because that you pay to have your head there. But what did you think of an idea like I thought that was really thinking outside the box. It's kind of an interesting way to go. Well, at least you get something, and then you have people kind of watching, and then we're watching at home, and maybe you get to see your own face.
Yeah,
well, it's certainly better than the South Korean soccer team. They used sex dolls, so. So, I mean, it's a little different, but again, thinking outside the box.
Oh my!
So,
my!
I mean, I guess they got some use.
Wow!
Was it the NFL that was going to hook up speakers too to emulate crowd sounds, or like have like was it the NFL or some team was going to have like crowd sounds, so
really?
You can like tune in and like yell and it would project. I'm not sure if that's A dream I had, maybe?
It might be. You should pitch it if it is. Copyright that stuff.
Totally sounds like your dream. Yeah. Is there a place where I can make noises and make it get louder? That sounds like Kayla all over. Yeah.
Oh, man. Right after the sexual insinuation.
That's what I want, is I want a live stream of Kayla on Commonwealth. What are you doing? What is going on?
Up on the big screen.
Oh, yes.
Just Skyping into the big screen.
Yeah, take my money. I want to yell and for people to actually see me, or the players and the refs. Like,
yeah, on TV, all of a sudden you're over the loudspeaker. You got to be kidding me. That's a ridiculous call.
Good break.
I'm in.
Oh my, that's
sign me up.
Yeah, no kidding. So
at this point, you got to do what you got to do to feed this some money and revenue in.
Hey, well, we'll take it. We'll take it. Okay, let's get back to Randy's town hall for a second.
Oh yeah,
they did. So they announced they're canceling Touchdown Atlantic. Not terribly surprising.
No, very sad.
Very sad for sure. The other part is that they moved the Grey Cup Festival in Regina from 2020 to 2022. And now if they do get to play and there is a championship game, the host team would be the team with the better record in the shortened season. So no basically big to do with the Grey Cup game. It would just be basically a home team play. So what do you guys think of that? And just, I mean, it makes sense to me. It's kind of sad, but I think that kind of makes what they have to do at this point. Yeah.
It's fair, especially for Saskatchewan fans. Like, I couldn't imagine being in their shoes and being so excited for 2020 in the new stadium and like all the events. Like, you know how Riders fans are just in general, so you can imagine how they're going to be at Grey Cup, even if their team isn't in it, which is most likely. But I think it's the right idea and it's the right plan, and they should move it to 2020 because those fans are due a big celebration.
Yeah, I agree. And the thing is with the festival, it's not just the game, right?
Exactly.
It's all those other things of all the getting together and all the stuff that we're not allowed to do right now.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, how many people go to Grey Cup, and obviously not every one of them is going to the game because there's a limited number of seats in any stadium. So it is disappointing, but you don't want to spend all that money and time planning a Grey Cup and then have it not happen.
Mm-hmm.
Or conversely, all of a sudden find out at the last minute, there is going to be a Grey Cup we're hosting. So you have to start planning it in half the amount of time or even less. I think it's just the right way to go. You could move it to 2021 because things have already been underway for Hamilton doing that.
Yeah.
So giving them 2022, I think it's the only possibility they had for that. So I think every fan I've seen from Regina has agreed with that, and they think that that's a fair assessment. There may have been the occasional person that disagreed with it, but they didn't have a better option. So.
Right.
What would they want, just for Hamilton not to get it next year? Like,
they would want some people. I'm sure. Again, I didn't see anyone post this, but my thought is that there might have been some people that wanted to just bump it a year, and so Saskatchewan in 2021, Hamilton in 2022. But I think the way they've done it's the best way they can do it for everybody.
Yeah, I think it's best for all the planning and all those types of things. So one of the other things that Randy did say in his town hall was that the teams are looking at different ways to connect with fans, and that there might be some announcements coming soon. And I wondered, Mike, if this was something like you were talking about before, where they're trying to plan some type of experiences where you're not getting huge numbers of people together, or things where, you know, they get to talk to an Esks or whatever, but just some type of experiences that they're trying to put together to get the connection, maybe?
Yeah, I think that they really need to leverage their brand, right? The CFL and the teams and the players all need to work as a team. Because there is currency in the players themselves. They're definitely heroes to a lot of fans out there. The teams themselves, we cheer for the logo on the front, necessarily not the name on the back sometimes. And then the league itself is that overall umbrella, and all three of them have some sort of power to use their brand to give us these experiences you can't get in any other sport. I mean, it's already the most connected league, in my opinion, between the fan and the athletes and the teams. Being able to, like you say, have a one-on-one conversation for 15 minutes with a player, you can buy that. Or, just have some things like that where you can be in the team photo, or you can get a personal tour of Commonwealth or something.
Yeah.
And I think that there's a lot of value in that, and there are a lot of people I think would put money into that. And maybe we can start raising some money in unique ways that they hadn't necessarily considered.
And I hope this can kickstart a CFL apparel brand, because I've been dying for some CFL apparel.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I totally agree. Well, although I must say, and I'm taking advantage, you can see this is my new shirt I'm wearing here tonight.
They can't, but
can. You guys can. You guys can.
Very nice.
I got my 3 T-shirts, all the sale T-shirts that I ordered from the store. So this is one of 3. I think this is my favorite one because it's kind of a neato, black with the gold. I like it. It's kind of neato.
Very slick.
Yeah, it's kind of nice. Yeah. Anyway, let's talk about some other things that are going on. Dion Lacey signs in Saskatchewan.
Ooh,
talk about
ultimately
kicking the balls. Yeah. Anyway,
I mean, he's got some connections, obviously, on the team with some of the players. Mondo being an obvious one, being on the defense. But it's hard to beat that connection he would have had with Craig Dickinson, who would have been his special teams coach when he was here.
True.
And where's he going to go?
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. If he came here, he's going to be asking for a lot more money wise, and he would have been taking the spot that B-Walk is going to be in. So,
well, no, B-Walk is a Sam linebacker. Dion Lacey's. No, he's a Will linebacker or a defensive end. He rotated between the two.
Oh, I thought he was a Sam as well. He's a Will. Okay.
No, Sam guys, he's got to be way lighter to be. I mean, that's like a nickelback position. Okay. It's almost a defensive back. Right. So he's going to be taking either Javon Santos-Knox or Vontae Diggs.
Yeah, that's not going to happen at this
or
particular
Kwaku Boateng. I don't see that happening in either spot. I mean, there is a possibility on the other end, but that could be a Canadian spot with Matthew Betts.
Yep.
Mike Moore kicked out to that side a few times from the defensive tackle position. So where's he going to go?
Yeah, I agree.
And for the dollar, I don't think they can budget that.
Yeah.
I think it just really hurt seeing where he went.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Exactly. I agree. But I agree with you, Mike. The connection is there, right? So
yeah.
Speaking of other former Eskimos, Nate starts his own podcast.
Yes, sir.
Because basically he just wants to be us, and that's fine. We can totally. I mean, what is that saying? That what's the greatest form of flattery, Mike?
Rubbing up against someone?
Probably. Yeah. That's
okay.
That could be it too. Yeah. But
oh dear.
It works for cats.
Yeah.
Just saying.
That's exactly what I was thinking.
Get your mind out of the gutter, you people.
Thank you. Yes. So the Nate podcast is called All Ball, and I believe it was even on episode 1. He got T Sniper.
He did.
Wow.
He's got some connections, that guy.
You'd think? Yeah. So that's pretty cool. Anyway, check it out. It's pretty cool, and Nate is an awesome dude. He's awesome to listen to. So yeah. We all love him, even if he's trying to copy us. It's fine. Okay, I'm
glad we could be inspiration to him. That's all I'm saying.
That's what it is. Exactly. So let's get to it, Superfan. We need to get into some of these depth charts, and let's start with the Eskimos' history moment.
Let's hear you cheer and holler for a mighty famous team. Let's hear you roar, you know what, for a team that's on repeat. Our voices rise up to the skies, the fans are glad to scream. We love those Eskimos.
Welcome back to the Esks History Moment. This season, we are building the ultimate Eskimos depth chart as voted on by the fans of this podcast and, of course, the Edmonton Eskimos. This poll runs every 2 weeks and selects players from 1975 to 2019. But as always, what about those players from before those years? Working with good friends of the podcast who are around in the early days of listening to our heroes on the radio and watching on early TV, we have put together a separate roster featuring only those players to create the Ernie Pismo Rasco Memorial All-Star roster. This week is the final week in our roster, We have selected every spot on the field and sidelines except the one many call the most important position in Canadian football, the quarterbacks. Edmonton has been blessed over the years with some of the most outstanding pivots, but it was just as famous in the first quarter century for the lack of quality players at the position during the period between the two Grey Cup appearances in 1960 and 1973. We aren't here, though, to look at the more forgettable players. We are now looking at the best of the best. The first quarterback was not only an all-star at the quarterback position, he was also honored at the running back position and named Canada's greatest athlete of the third quarter century from 1951 through 1975, John Dickerson, or Jackie Parker. Parker came to the team in 1954, joining new head coach Frank Pop Ivy, who needed a split-T wizard to command that style of offense. Parker started at halfback and split passing time with Iowa standout Bernie Filoni, and his most famous play in his rookie season was a 90-yard fumble return touchdown to tie the game in the 1954 Grey Cup, with the convert giving Edmonton the lead and ultimately the win. By the 1955 season, Filoni was gone to serve in the military, and Parker was the lone gunslinger, and in the following year he started splitting time behind center, but he was always dangerous whenever he had his ball in his hands. He was named the most outstanding player in the West 7 times in an 8-year span between 1954 and 1961, and won the Shenley for most outstanding player for Canada 3 times in 1957, 1958, and 1960. He was traded to the Toronto Argonauts in February of 1963, but in the minds of many, he was always associated with his time in green and gold. He was enshrined in the Esks Wall of Honor along with his fellow Glory Gang members Miles, Bright, and Kwong in 1983. Second on the list is the man who played most of his career sharing the backfield with Jack Parker, Don Getty. Getty would spend his life in many ways in the shadow of Parker, but he was able to show the league and the fans that he was his own man, quarterbacking the Eskimos to the third consecutive win in 1956, after coming in to start his first game in the West Final that year, destroying the Saskatchewan Roughriders 51-7, and following that performance up the next week with a 50-27 win against Montreal in the championship game. Getty was the Western nominee for Most Outstanding Canadian in 1959, losing to the legendary Russ Jackson, and was inducted onto the Eskimos' Wall of Honor in 1992. And the third and most recent player to make this list is the only one who could have potentially been on both this list and the fan and media votes. He joined the team as a journeyman quarterback after having played for the Toronto Argonauts and BC Lions before throwing his hat in the ring for Coach Ray Yauch in 1972, Tom Wilkinson. Wilkie joined the team as they were finally on an upswing after a decade of despair. Edmonton had signed Bruce Lemmerman in late 1971 and won 5 consecutive games, and with Wilkinson in camp, Edmonton finally had a solid 1-2 punch at the position, which allowed them to dominate the league as the 70s progressed, finishing in first place in 1973 for the first time since the mid-1950s, and culminated with Wilkinson being named the league's most outstanding player in 1974. He started at quarterback for 3 Grey Cup winning teams, and without him, we may not have had such a strong run in the decade of excellence, as Edmonton fans called the 1970s. Wilkie was the first person to ever go up on the Eskimos' Wall of Honor, being enshrined in 1982, the year after he retired. He's also been added to the Canadian Football Hall of Fame and has won all the accolades a player could ask for. Edmonton had some outstanding players from the beginning, entering the league again after 1949 through the highs and lows of the first 25 years. But players like Parker, Getty, and Wilkinson were 3 of the best of all time. Thank you to everyone for following along with us over this journey to build the Ernie Pismo-Rasco Memorial roster, featuring the players of the first 25 years of the Edmonton Eskimos. We hope that you have enjoyed listening about these players over the months, and we look forward to expanding on them and the many players in future episodes that make up our rich Edmonton Eskimos history.
That was pretty good. I like that.
Yeah, it's fun. I mean, there's a lot of players we could have chosen. Bernie Filoni was one we talked about, but he only really played for us for 1 year, so it felt kind of weird putting him on there. Same with a lot of guys. We had some really solid players in the early 50s, but again, when you're only playing 1 or 2 years, it doesn't quite fit as the all-time kind of guys. I think Getty does get a bit of a bad rap, but again, when you're playing next to Jackie Parker, it's pretty tough to be going, wow, that guy's outstanding. But you know what? He did make the West's most outstanding Canadian, beating everyone else in the West. So he must have done something right.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and hard when you kind of live in the shadow, and yet you're actually a really good player. So it's kind of nice to get that recognized.
Yeah, I think that. Once Don Getty said that he had something that Jackie Parker would never have, and that's the ability to have Jackie Parker as a halfback on his own.
Yeah,
it's got a good point there.
Yeah, that is a good point. Absolutely.
We could have had Parker in a lot of different spots too, but
sure.
I didn't want to have him as a halfback and a quarterback because if you're putting out a depth chart, it seems a little weird when he hands the ball off to himself and he plunges into the line. It just seems kind of weird.
Yeah, exactly. All right, well, let's do our updated one from 75 to present. Who were our winning quarterbacks?
Yeah, so for the fan vote, and actually I think we'll find it's pretty much the same for the media vote.
Okay.
This one I thought was pretty easy to pick a couple of players.
Yes.
But then that third guy, we had a lot of different votes for a lot of different people, actually. The first vote was Warren Mooney. I think he had 92% of the vote. Warren joined us in 1978 after winning the Rose Bowl as the quarterback. He came to Canada because he wasn't given the opportunity. He was not drafted out of the NFL because he let it be known that he wanted to play as a quarterback, and African-American men didn't play quarterback in the NFL at that time, which to me just still floors me that in my lifetime, because that just seems like something that happened, years ago in the 50s or earlier.
Totally agree.
But just that he was considered that people wouldn't listen to him in the huddle, wouldn't follow him, and the quarterback is the leader of the team. And he went and proved everybody wrong, and we were the luckier for it.
No kidding.
Part of the, his first 5 years in the league, they won the Grey Cup 5 times, which is, not bad.
Did all right.
In his 6th year, he shattered the record for most yards passed in a season. I think prorated, he would still be number 2 all time in CFL history. Not a bad league. He went down to the Houston Oilers, played with who are now Tennessee Titans. Went and played for Kansas City, went and played for Seattle, went and played for Minnesota. Had a hell of a career. He's the only player to be in both the Canadian Football Hall of Fame and the Pro Football Hall of Fame in the States. Other than winning a Super Bowl, I think he's got everything you could ever ask for as a quarterback.
Yeah, no kidding. Wow.
Next up, again, probably not much of a surprise to anybody, is Ricky Ray.
Yeah.
Ricky joined the team in 2002 and holds pretty much every Eskimo record for quarterbacking, whether it's passing, whether it's yards, whether it's touchdowns passed, etc. Ricky was the 4th string quarterback in camp in 2002.
That is incredible to me. Like, just incredible. Yeah.
It was pretty amazing that, just people started getting injured. So he moved up the depth chart. And again, the 4th game, Jason Moss got hurt during the game. So Ricky went in against Saskatchewan, it brought us back. We almost won that one. The next week, he played against BC as his first game as a starter. And playing in his first game versus Damon Allen, who was in his 10,000th game or something as a starter. And that's all they really talked about during the broadcast was just the amount of experience between the two quarterbacks. And we won the game.
Mm-hmm. Do you have those games?
I do.
Like a hit.
That was a gasp.
Yeah.
That was a gasp.
It was.
Yeah.
I can't see her, but I can hear.
Yes.
Oh, right.
Ricky, of course, in 2004 went down to the United States, signed with the New York Jets, and was the third string quarterback there. Just held a clipboard for most of the year before coming back in 2005, which is probably a large portion of why we had Danny Machocha as our head coach that year, because he had such a relationship with Ray, and we figured we could bring him back if we had Machocha. And took us to the Grey Cup that year and won his second Grey Cup and his first MOP in a Grey Cup. So just an amazing year for him. And really, if he didn't make this list, I would be questioning people's votes.
Yeah, I totally agree.
Riot.
Exactly. The last one for the fan vote won by a single vote over the fourth place finisher, and that is Mike Riley. I knew that he would get a lot of votes. There's some people that are still a little angry at the way he left the team, or just the fact that he did leave the team. He's very, sort of a jilted ex-girlfriend kind of thing, or ex-boyfriend. I'm still bitter that you left me. But you can't deny that he was a leader.
Oh, absolutely.
If you looked up a definition of the word leader, it's his photo. Toughness. He joined the team in 2013. Terrible season at 4-14. Turned it around in 2014. Won the Grey Cup in 2015 after being knocked out in the first game. Missing half that season. Winning 8 straight, getting into the playoffs. And, the next year he was the most outstanding player. What more can you say about the man? He, again, had one more vote than the fourth place team who made the other list, and that's Tom Wilkinson.
Oh, okay. That makes sense. Yeah.
But a lot of people did get votes. James Franklin did get votes, by the way.
Did he? Wow.
Yes, he did.
Okay,
Are you? You look so surprised.
Well, the reason I am is because, I was tempted myself because I just think that, but when I thought about all-time depth chart, and he just doesn't have enough starts for me. Now, if he had stayed and took over and started a bunch of games, likely it would have, no question, that'd have been my vote. Yep. But
other people that got votes,
of a cult following, I think.
Yeah.
That's just
I don't know what you're talking about.
And it's founded by Andrew.
I don't know what you're talking about at all.
We had a bunch of people voted, over 10% voted for Matt Dunnigan, over 10% voted for Damon Allen.
Yeah.
Tracy Ham had a couple of votes. Matt Nichols had a couple of votes. Anna Franklin had a few votes. So it was definitely spread out along a lot of people.
Okay. And was the media vote the same?
The media vote had the same 3 people, but it was not even close.
Oh, okay.
It was pretty much 100% of us voted for Warren Moon. 100% of us voted for Ricky Ray.
Yeah.
And I think Riley won with 56% of our vote.
Okay.
Whereas I think Wilkinson only had 25%. So.
Okay.
And then Damon Allen was the only guy that got votes.
Yep. That would be for me because I thought Damon would be the third one on there, but that was just me. I really liked Damon. I loved watching Damon play, and he had just such an amazing career, but he was great as an Eskimo. So
you're talking about a guy that is number 3 all time in rushing yards, and he's a quarterback.
Exactly.
Not as a quarterback. Period.
Yeah. Out of any type of rusher. Yeah.
Yep. So
that's
not
crazy.
bad. He also played for 1,000 years. So
that's true.
Gonna get some.
It does help. Yeah. When you're playing your 10,000th game in 2002 against Ricky Ray,
exactly.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
I figure he's not listening to us. We're good.
Yeah, there's a good shot. Well, I did want to say, I know I said it on the YouTube live, but Mike, thank you so much for all of the organizing that you did on this, all the work you did on this, the PowerPoints on the YouTube live, all of the pictures, reliving all of these guys as they've come through on the depth chart. It's been super, super fun, and I can't tell you how much I appreciate it going through this off season with something fun to do like this with you guys.
Yeah, it's been fun. And of course, don't forget, next episode in a couple of weeks, we will be doing a draw. People that did vote in this did enter in to win some prizes. A couple of things we're giving away. We've got a $25 gift card to the Esks store. Mm-hmm. We've got a book called The Decade of Excellence. It's about the Eskimos in the 1970s. Tons of pictures, some great stories. It's a phenomenal book. If you don't win, go out and find a copy and buy it.
Yes.
And then we are making up a poster, a big poster, much like the one that is kind of right behind you in the Turf District, where we had the Esks by the numbers, where the 1 to 99. We're doing a depth chart on a 24 by 36 inch poster.
Oh, wow.
With everyone's photos in their position and everything else. I think it's going to be a lot of fun.
That is going to be so awesome. Yeah, I can't wait to draw that in a couple of weeks.
Yeah.
It's going to be a blast. And then we have a new thing, because we needed to have some more fun while we're waiting for some football to come. So we have decided that we are going to be doing the greatest football movie bracket. So we have 32 football movies. I am just in the midst of trying to set everything up so that I can draw and figure out which movies are going to play against one another. Yeah. And I'll announce all of that in a couple of weeks, and then we'll do some Twitter and Facebook polls to figure out who wins each basically set. And then we will figure out what is the greatest all-time football movie.
June Madness. It's going to be great.
June Madness. That's right.
Why not?
Well, whatever. It'll be June through August madness, likely, depending on how often I put the polls out, I guess. But that
could work out really well if we get football in September.
See, that was my plan. I needed something to carry us through. We'll be good. Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, we'll get some details out on that very soon. So.
I need this list, man. I haven't seen 32 football movies, that's for sure.
Okay.
Although it won't change my winner, but I want to watch them regardless.
It won't change your winner.
No.
I'm pretty sure. I know who I would pick for my winner, but I know there's lots
Gus.
that would be. Yep, that's the one. Yeah.
Hey, if you got a mule that kicks field goals, that is just gold right there.
Well, plus, I mean, Mr. Farley. Come on, how much more do you
Mr. Furley.
Furley, I was close.
Yeah.
Yeah, all right. Well,
Don Knotts, Ed Asner, it's gold.
That's all we need. That's right. It's making it to the Final Four at least. At least.
With that ass, you have to.
Exactly. Yeah.
Is that the title of the podcast?
With that ass, you have to. I don't know if Mark would appreciate that so much. So I think he might.
I think it's about him.
That might not be the best way to go, title of the podcast. I'm sure we have some other ideas that'll be just wonderful. But of course, good for Kayla for finding ways to put things out for us.
It's the new hashtag anyway.
It is. That's gotta go. I'll hashtag that for the show for sure. Yeah.
I don't want to know what other things are hashtagged with that, but okay.
Yeah. With that ass, how can you go wrong? Perfect.
With that ass, you have to.
You have to. That's what it is. You have to. Okay, perfect. I like this. All right. Well, thanks, guys. This was very, very fun. Once again, on that happy note, we'll go to the ending. Let's go with where does everybody find everybody on the socials? Starting with you, Commissioner Kayla.
Of course. Might as well just get the screw up over with.
Also title of the podcast.
That's right. Yes. Let's get that. Again, probably Mark not so happy about that one. So let's find a better one. Yeah.
All right. Main at Duchess Lombardi. Secondary, where I post all my photography, is at Esks Empire Photo. No.
I thought you got it right. I thought the pause was perfect, but I thought, here we go. We are gonna. Well,
I was on the edge of my seat.
You were.
I got it wrong. I was like, son of a gun.
You are language. Yeah. You're nothing if not consistent. That's the important part. Super fan. Where does everybody find all your excitement?
Where does everyone find me? Mostly just sitting in the back of my house looking at my yard.
Yes.
But you can find me on the Twitters at 56 Parkies, and then the history, and you can see all about the winners in the depth chart at Esks History.
You know, It could be worse in your backyard, man.
Oh.
Could be on
Could be worse when you're a backyard man. Got it.
Yeah.
Awesome. Once my deck is built, I'm going to get a T-shirt that says "Backyard Man," because that's all I'm going to be doing. Yeah. If you want to find me, you can find me at Freepalicious, of course, the show at Esks Empire Pod. I want to say thanks again to MilkTruck Mark Mackie for joining us and finally getting on the show. You can find him at Mackie, MACKIE _91 on Instagram, and that's the best way to follow him. Make sure you're following Pay It Forward with Football on Facebook and Twitter, of course, because they're doing lots of exciting things as we're waiting for football. So check those out. And of course, those hoodies from JR Sports at renfrofootball.com and on Instagram. Did you order one, Kayla?
No, I have not yet. Do we just message him straight?
Yeah, just DM him. Yeah, and then you can get one of those fancy hoodies. So that's amazing.
Did you?
No, because I'm trying to figure out if I'm getting one or two. So
okay. Well, how about oh, sorry. You can cut this out. Sorry, I'm just yapping. But we can order it together so he doesn't have to do separate orders for shipping. Maybe that'll be
that's a good idea.
Easier for him.
That's right. That's a good idea. I need to get some of his masks too, so that's good.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. Okay. Now, lots of great shows coming out from the Canadian Football Podcast Network these days. Lots of draft coverage. So make sure you catch up with those on cfpodnetwork.ca. And of course, make sure you check out all of the amazing shows that are part of the Alberta Podcast Network. And where do you find those, Mike? You find those at albertapodcastnetwork.com. Not bad?
That's beautiful, man.
Yeah, thanks. I can get that t-shirt too. Beautiful, man. You find all of our links at eskempire.
No comma.
Yeah, no comma. No. There's no need for a comma. Yeah. We will be back in a couple of weeks, and we are very excited to be joined by Dave and Morley for a little football catch-up chat, as we were, of course, supposed to do our season preview with them in this past couple of weeks. So in 2 weeks' time, we'll have them on and we'll chat some football and see where things are at. So I'm very excited to have those guys back on, and then hopefully we'll have the bracket ready to go at that particular moment.
Oh, it's gonna be good.
Oh, very exciting. So make sure you are staying safe, washing your hands. For MilkTruck Commissioner Kayla and Superfan Mike, I'm Andrew. Remember, you can't catch footballs with your face, and we will absolutely talk to you in 2 weeks.
Thanks for listening. Find more great shows like this at CF Pod Network on Twitter.